What's up guys, my name's Dean, or as most of you know me, Twisty, and today we are going to be continuing on with our AFL season. I'm playing Richmond against the Gold Coast today, is the match that's happening, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you guys through the run home from the final 8 rounds here, of sort of the top 8 sides, and get where I think they're going to sort of position themselves come the end of the year, and just looking at, you know, who should move up, who should move down, and sort of where things could potentially fall. Oh, we'll go with the Clash. Actually, no, I like the Red. No, but they're always with the Clash when they play against us. Anyway, we're playing at TIO, I think, because Kazali's not in this game. So let me just sack half the Richmond team and put in a completely new one, and we'll get stuck in. Yep, alright, cool. So today I thought we'd take a look at the draws of the teams on the run home and generally get a gist of what the sense of placement will be come the finals rounds. And what we learned is that over the past, I think it's like 50 games or something, top 8 sides have only lost, or over the season so far, these top 8 sides have only lost 5 times between them to a side in the bottom half of the 8. So it's generally a lot of... There is a lot that is going to change or need to change for, you know, them to be better. I mean, for the bottom 10 sides, sorry, to improve. So let's take a look at them position by position on the ladder. So at the moment, we've got Hawthorn sitting first, and their run home consists of Port Adelaide, Sydney away, Richmond, Carlton, Melbourne, North Melbourne. I think that one's at home, or that North Melbourne game at the MCG. West Coast away, and then Collingwood. So you'd think they would go in to 7 of those 8 games as favourites. So if they win that, Hawthorn, you know, generally if they can improve their percentage by about 20% over those 7 games, then they'll finish first or second. All right. Next is Geelong. They play Sydney at home, Fremantle, Adelaide at home, the Dogs at home. Then they play Essendon, Richmond, Brisbane, and Melbourne in their last 4 games. So they should easily win those final 4. And depending on how they go in the first 4, if they win, let's say they win 3 of those first 4. Because they're all at home. When they play against the top 8 sides, they're playing them in Geelong. They're not playing them at Etihad Stadium, they're playing them in Geelong. So, I think that being said, Geelong goes into all 8 of those games as favourites. If they win all 8 of those games, they then, obviously, finish in the top 2. Alright, moving on to the Giants now, and they play Collingwood, Brisbane, Port Adelaide, Richmond, Gold Coast, West Coast away, Fremantle, and North Melbourne away. Actually, no, West Coast is at home. So, only the 2 top 8 sides that they play are West Coast at home and North Melbourne away. So, let's say the only game that they're not favourites to win is North Melbourne away. So, that means there's 7 of 8 games favourites to win. And if you've seen how the Giants have demolished sides at home this season, you'd be pretty worried if they're getting a home final. So again, this is how critical it is, those games against top 8 sides. So they play the 2 lowest top 8 sides, the Giants, as in West Coast and North Melbourne. If they win all 8 of those games, it's going to maybe be a percentage battle between them, Geelong and Hawthorn, as to who gets the top finals. So this is just real. This is where it gets real interesting here, is now that percentage is going to be a hugely big thing. Like, absolutely huge thing. Next, we have... As Rioli will run in and miss. Gee whiz, missed everything. Next, we have the Adelaide Crow... Oh, no, the Sydney Straws, sorry. Because they're currently in 4th. So, they play Geelong away. So, you'd think they'd lose. They play Hawthorn at home. Carlton, Fremantle, Port Adelaide, St Kilda, North Melbourne in Tasmania, and then they play Richmond as well to finish it off. So you would think Sydney, again, another side that would go in favourites 7 of their 8 games. So if they win 7 of their 8, the only one they wouldn't be favourites, I think, would be Geelong away, but they would still be favourites for Hawthorn at home, if that makes sense. All right, we've gone through four teams that are favourites 7 of 8 or 8 of 8 games. So even the Giants, you could make an argument they'd be favourite for all 8 of their games. Quite bizarre, really, just how different the gap is between top 8 and bottom 8. And you know, it's not to say that that's going to happen, but you would think it's pretty much like set in stone almost of what's going to happen. Okay, that's... Oh, it's not 15! McBean, the revolt! Missed. Okay. Yep, alright, so let's look at those next 4 sides that are currently in the bottom 4 of the ladder, which could be eliminated week 1 of the finals. Alright, let's look into it. And I think that probably the most annoying thing about this season is that there will be a gap between round 23 and the finals, which was brought in to stop people resting their players. Rather than the AFL giving the players a second bye, which is what they wanted, they ended up getting that instead. So, generally it means finishing in the top 4, you may not be as match fit as you'd like. You'd be definitely well rested, but that week off means you only play 1 game in 3 weeks. And that could definitely hurt come prelim final time to those sides who win the first final. But let's look at those other 4 sides. So let's look at the Crows first. They play Carlton, Collingwood, Geelong in Geelong, Essendon, Brisbane, Fremantle, Port Adelaide, and West Coast at home. So you think all of those games, except for Geelong in Geelong, they will be favourites. Now, I don't know whether they play home or away for the other games, but I only listed home and away relevant to the top 8 sides, because I think they'll just win wherever it is, unless it's a top 8 side that they're playing. They just beat Melbourne away, and Melbourne are pretty much the best bottom 10 side. So, yeah, I don't think it makes a difference where they play against those bottom 10 sides. But you'd think they go in, once again, 7 of 8 favourites to win. So the games you would expect them to lose, that's a beautifully long kick. Games you'd expect them to lose would be Geelong in Geelong. That's the only one you wouldn't have them as favourites to. Yeah, that's it. And the other top 8 side, they plays West Coast at home. They just beat West Coast away, so they'll beat them at home. Next one is the Dogs. Now, the Dogs, they play Richmond, the Gold Coast at Kazales. Then they play St Kilda, Geelong away, North Melbourne at home, Collingwood, Essendon, Fremantle as their final run home. So, Collingwood, Essendon, Fremantle, their last 3 rounds, plenty of chance for them to pick up percentage to run into that finals to possibly push for top 4. Again, you'd think they'd be 7 of 8, they'd be favourites to win. So, the only game you wouldn't say they'd be favourites again would be Geelong in Geelong. And that's just how much credit we put on, you know, that home team advantage there. So the Dogs should win 7 of their 8, and this is just a bizarre finish to the season. They're probably the top 6 teams. They're the only 6 you'd think can win the flag, right? Those top 6. Then you move in and you say North Melbourne's next. Now this is a much tougher draw than some of the other ones. It seems as though it's a tougher draw. Because they're probably lower ranked. So they play West Coast at home, then they play West Coast away, Port Adelaide at home. Port Adelaide, I think I put home there because they're probably one of the only other sides that could knock off a top 8 side. Then they play Collingwood, St Kilda, Western Bulldogs, Hawthorn, Sydney and Tasmania, and GWS at home. So I've had them marked down as favourites for 4 of those 8 games. And those were the games against Port, Collingwood, St Kilda, and the Giants at home. Those were the 4 games I had them winning. Then the games I had them losing, or at least not being the favourite to have, were West Coast away, Sydney and Tasmania, Hawthorn. Oh, that's ridiculous. Hawthorn at MCG, and the Giants at Yes. So I had them losing to West Coast, the Bulldogs, Hawthorn, and Sydney. So they win 4 of their next 4, they'll finish 8th. Or 4 of their next 8, they will finish in 8th position. Which makes this week's game probably the battle between 7th and 8th. Between West Coast and North Melbourne, it's a North Melbourne home game. So if they can pull off a win, then you would say, right, they're in a good spot. So this is actually the battle of the prelim final last year, and it looks like it's going to be the battle of 7th and 8th this year. So whichever team loses, you would think would be in 8th position. Now, let's look at West Coast draw. They're the final team that we're going to look at for their run home. And they play North Melbourne at home this week. Then they play Carlton, Melbourne, Collingwood, Fremantle, the Giants away, Hawthorn away, and Adelaide away. Or the Hawthorn at home, sorry, and then Adelaide away. So their final 3 rounds consist of the Giants, Hawthorn, and Adelaide. I probably wouldn't think they're going to win any of those. They're the 3 that I've got them to lose. I think they'll win the rest of their games. So they'll beat the North Melbourne, they'll beat Carlton, Melbourne, Collingwood, Freo, and then they'll lose the final 3 games, the Giants away, Hawthorn at home, and Adelaide away. So then they'll finish either 7th or 8th alongside North Melbourne. But if they beat North Melbourne this week, that'll be their first top 8 team that they've beaten for the season. Alright? If they then go on to lose to the Giants, Hawthorn, and Adelaide, they would have only beaten North Melbourne in that top 8 going into a final series, which would go to show you West Coast would be the first team knocked out of the finals. I think that just makes sense. But that's obviously still a long way away to come, and we're only halfway through this game. But West Coast and North Melbourne, it looks like they've got the toughest runs home. Or, you know, they're probably least likely to make the top 4. If they do make the top 4, it will be very out of the blue. And I just don't see it happening. Just do not see it happening. So I think that, you know, the top 6 teams are still up for grabs as to positions. You'd think Geelong and Hawthorn would probably be the top 2. And then 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th are interchangeable between the Giants, the Swans, the Crows, and the Dogs. I think that they probably could be anywhere in that top 4, but I'd watch out. If the Giants somehow snag a top 2 finish, I would be extraordinarily worried for any side that has to play them at spotless. But yeah, no matter which way I look at it, I think that there is a huge potential for the Sydney teams to play off against each other in the finals. I mean, I think it would just be special and crazy. But that's what I think is going to happen. Rioli here. This would be quite a magical shot. If I could just nail this. Look, I think probably there. Straight through the middle. I am the greatest. Oh no! Rewalt's got a broken leg! Oh no! Oh dear, oh dear.
A nasty broken leg. I reckon he's gone for the season.
Oh, we're going to have to replace him. Marbier Chol can come into the game. Hampson. Chol! Everyone just having a bit of the action. Chol might have a shot at goal. Oh, Marbier! Oh, that would have been a beautiful way to end the game. But 9-6-60, Gold Coast 1-1-7. That'll be the final scores. Unless I turn it over here and take a mark. No. So that'll be it for the game. Well done, Richmond. Let me know which team you guys think has the best run home. I think Geelong, probably the most favourable draw, should win all 8 of their games. But, you know, we've seen how they've dropped to a couple of sides not inside that top 8. And that will be their interesting run to see how they go. But it's percentage. Whew. Percentage right now is definitely the #1 key priority for teams. I think, obviously, get the 4 points. You don't want to drop a game, but you don't really want to... If you do drop a game, you're only going to do it by a point. You don't want to do it by too much because you want your percentage to be the highest it can possibly be. Because at the end of the season, from what it looks like, there will be a number of teams in that top 8 only separated by percentage. If, the way I've got it panning out right now, Geelong will be... Geelong and Hawthorn will be even, top 2. And I think 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th will only be percentage separating them. So it's going to be a big ask for the Crows and the Dogs to up their percentage that much more than the Giants and the Swans come the last couple of rounds. But you just never know. And that's going to be the interesting one, is who can win and just make sure that they keep winning. Because you lose one game, you could drop a number of spots. And that's what we're going to find out come the end of the year. So thank you guys for watching my sort of lead up into the last 8 games of the season. Hopefully you have enjoyed today's video. And until next time, I will see all of you guys later. Oh, look at that. Jack Riewoldt. Oh, Jack Riewoldt was in front of the Coleman medal by 6 goals. And now he's got a broken leg, so he's out for 6 weeks. So then that opens the door for Mitch Clark, Lance Franklin, and even Sammy Lloyd. But so Mitch Clark will theoretically be he's 7 goals up on Buddy. Alright, it's up to Lloydie. Lloydie has to be the man to take over Riewoldt's Coleman right now. Because look at that. Broken leg. Unlucky.